There's been decades of talk about a two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli problem, but the prospect of that is as far away as it ever has been, with many now suspecting that Israel has, to all intents and purposes, abandoned that objective. Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank is imperiling the viability of the two-state solution and destroying any chance for peace in the Middle East. By legalising dozens of settlements in the West Bank, successive Israeli governments have created an insurmountable obstacle to the two-state solution and the Palestinian dream of an independent, sovereign state based on the 1967 borders. Instead, it seems that Israel has decided on a different solution. Supported by the US, the EU, the UK, and the UK's official opposition, Israel has embarked on what could only be described as genocide. And Don Jones is correct. That boy's scream should tone everyone complicit in this bloodbath. It's important to note here that using this kind of language isn't just hysterical hyperbole. The director of the New York office of the UN High Commission for Human Rights has left his post protesting that the UN is failing in its duty to prevent what he categorises as genocide of Palestinian civilians in Gaza under Israeli bombardment, and citing the US, UK and much of Europe as, quote, wholly complicit in the horrific assault. But Keir Starmer, the man destined to be our next PM, a human rights lawyer, tells us he's unable to recognise a war crime when he sees one, at least when the war crime is being perpetrated against brown Muslims. Strange, he had no such blind spot when the war crimes were being perpetrated against predominantly white Christians.
As to whether each and every act is in accordance with the law, well, that will have to be adjudicated in due course. I think it's unwise for politicians to stand on stages like this or to sit in television studios and pronounce day by day which acts may or may not be in accordance with international law. I think it's not the role of politicians.
Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
Yes.
Yes.
What I've seen already amounts to war crimes, particularly the awful attacks on civilians.
Starmer's insistence that he couldn't recognise a war crime when he saw one came as part of a question-and-answer session after a speech he gave desperately attempting to justify why he would support a ceasefire. While I do understand calls for a ceasefire at this stage, I do not believe that it is the correct position now, Sir Keir Starmer says. Labour leader says, quote, Hamas would be emboldened and, quote, start preparing for future violence immediately. So, his logic is, to stop a future possible war crime against Israel, we must continue inflicting multiple war crimes on the Palestinians. In Scotland, the First Minister, Humza Yousaf, was quick to call out Starmer for supporting the ongoing massacre of Palestinian civilians. Keir Starmer's stance lacks moral courage and leadership. A humanitarian pause will only temporarily stop the killing of children. Over 3,000 have already reportedly been killed in Gaza. We need a ceasefire now. Otherwise, we are accepting thousands more civilians will be killed. The leader of Scottish Labour, Anna Sarwar, was also quick to make it clear that he was also less than happy with Starmer's handling of the Gaza crisis. Keir Starmer's Israeli Gaza comment hurt Muslims, says Anna Sarwar. Sarwar also makes a point that Starmer just seems incapable of grasping, possibly due to what appears to be his near sociopathic lack of empathy. Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar has said some of Sir Keir Starmer's remarks about Israel have, quote, hurt Muslims and all peace-loving people. Starmer only sees people as being part of a homogeneous voting bloc. These voting blocs are defined as sweeping demographics: Muslim, black, white working class, etc. In his mind, each group is only ever motivated by its own self-interest and preoccupation. It's inconceivable to Starmer that, for example, a member of the white working class might give a damn about what is happening to Muslims. A week later, after anger from his backbenchers and local councillors over the remarks, Sir Keir denied he had suggested withholding supplies was appropriate, saying, quote, "I know the LBC clip has been widely shared and caused real concern and distress in some Muslim communities." No, Keir, communities beyond Muslims were offended by your LBC comments about Israel's right to cut off food, water, power and medicine to a civilian population.
My name's James Schneider. I'm a Jewish member of the Labour Party. I'm outside Chatham House where Keir Starmer is giving a speech where he continues to refuse to support a ceasefire.
But Sarwar makes an even more interesting point. Apparently, he told this BBC correspondent,
Heard Anas Sarwar repeat his view that Israel has breached international law.
as far as I'm aware, that makes Sarwar, the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, the highest-ranking Labour politician to actually say outright that Israel is breaking international law in Gaza, something Starmer has repeatedly and conspicuously refused to say. Scottish Labour leader Anas Sarwar and Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf, in the words of John Lennon, want to give peace a chance by declaring an immediate ceasefire in the area. Joining them in this call are the UN, UNICEF, Oxfam, Save the Children, ActionAid, Christian Aid, Mayor of London, Mayor of Greater Manchester. But who does Starmer want to stand with? Well, there's the right-wing religious fanatics supporting Netanyahu's government, such as the current Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotoveli. She herself has used the forbidden phrase, "World should recognise Israel's historic claim to land from river to sea." Hotoveli, an Orthodox Jew, laced her speech with biblical commentaries in which God promised the land of Israel to the Jews. Starmer is also aligning himself with the right-wing religious fanatics in the US.
This morning, Prime Minister Netanyahu said unequivocally, this is his quote, "This is our second war of liberation. We're going to fight, and it will be the good over evil, light over darkness." Last night, I spoke with him on the telephone. The Prime Minister called me, and I used those very words myself. I said, "Bibi, it's good over evil. It's light over darkness." We all see that. I assure the Prime Minister of our unwavering support of Israel and her people, and I assured him that our Congress and under my leadership, we will be there until the end. We will be there until the end of this conflict. As a Christian, I know, and we believe that the Bible teaches very clearly that we're to stand with Israel, that God will bless the nation that blesses Israel.
Looks as though there will be no giving peace a chance, no ceasefire, until genocide has first been given its chance to solve the Israeli-Palestinian problem. Please support left-wing voices on social media by liking this video and subscribing to the channel.